Just how bad are the new tariffs on the auto industry, you ask? Well, now we have a 25% tariff on imported auto parts that just took effect, slamming the brakes on an industry already running on fragile margins. Automakers warn the duty, stacked on engines, electronics, and even simple fasteners, could add up to $4,700 to the sticker price of an average vehicle and erase billions in profit. Overnight, purchasing managers froze orders, dealers updated window stickers, and Wall Street shaved billions from manufacturers' market caps. The White House frames the move as leverage for domestic jobs, yet half the 16 million vehicles Americans bought last year arrived from abroad, and even made-in-USA models rely on globally sourced components. Instead of sparking a renaissance, insiders say the tariff lights a fuse under an already strained supply chain that could snap in coming months. Modern cars are jigsaw puzzles assembled across borders, with a typical transmission crisscrossing North America 7 times before final assembly. Until last week, those crossings were frictionless. Now every trip invites a 25% toll, turning supply chain choreography into a budget-busting tangle. Suppliers in Ontario machine gears shipped to Michigan. Processors in Nuevo Leon mold wiring harnesses routed back to Ohio. Each loop stacks cost upon cost. Analysts at S&P Global estimate the tariff adds $34 billion in annual expenses to an industry that posted a combined North American profit of $47 billion last year, a 72% bite. Worse, the duty arrives amid elevated steel and aluminum surcharges, compounding inflation already bled into showroom prices. Even plants wholly inside the United States can't escape, because roughly 37% of the average domestically built vehicle's parts originate abroad. Tariff auditors will enforce all declarations. Automakers have pinned real dollar signs on the damage. Ford projects an extra $1.5 billion in costs this year, yanking its 2025 earnings guidance and warning that even modest sedans could climb another 1.5%. General Motors pegs its exposure at up to $5 billion, enough to wipe out entire product line profits. Electric truck startup Rivian says component prices will jump several thousand per unit, forcing a fresh $1.8 billion in capital spending to localize suppliers. Meanwhile, economist Arthur Laffer calculates the average consumer will feel a $4,711 price punch per new vehicle, a spike rivaling the full typical down payment. Wall Street reacted swiftly. Sector shares slid 4% in a single session, erasing roughly $28 billion in market value. Investors fear deeper shocks once consumer sticker shock hits. Credit agencies already hint at downgrades if margins deteriorate significantly further this summer. The pain is not confined to boardrooms. Stellantis temporarily idled factories in Windsor, Ontario and Saltillo, Mexico, furloughing 900 American workers who rely on cross-border part flows. In the supplier trenches, a Motor and Equipment Manufacturers Association survey found 68% of small parts makers plan layoffs within 6 months if the tariff persists. Many operate on margins under 8%. Absorbing a 25% surcharge simply isn't feasible. Propulsion system firm BorgWarner warns it may shift future investment to Europe, costing the Midwest another 1,200 high-skilled jobs. Even domestic-only firms cannot escape higher bills for imported microchips, sensors, and battery cells. Bureau of Labor Statistics data show every $1 billion of lost auto output eliminates about 10,000 U.S. jobs, meaning the tariff's projected $34 billion drag could endanger 340,000 positions. Union leaders call this the worst since the 2008 crisis for workers. Consumers feel the sting at showrooms and garages alike. Cars.com reports average new vehicle listing prices climbed $1,200 in 3 days after the tariff began, before dealer incentives evaporated. Finance company Ally warns that each percentage point rise in transaction prices pushes 270,000 buyers per year out of affordability zones, lengthening average loan terms beyond 74 months. On the repair side, replacement bumper covers shipped from abroad jumped 22%, forcing insurers to raise collision premiums. Independent mechanics, who import many sensors and emission components, see parts bills up 18%, costs they must pass to drivers already coping with higher fuel and insurance. J.D. Power predicts used car values will swell 9% this summer as buyers flee new car sticker shock. The combined hit could add $55 billion in consumer expenses over the next 12 months, sucking discretionary income from restaurants, travel, and local retail. Small, specialized suppliers form the industry's backbone, and they're buckling first. The MEMA study found 42% of surveyed firms have less than 3 months of cash reserves. New duties accelerate raw material outflows without immediate pricing relief. A Michigan tool and die shop that quoted a $200 steering column bracket in April now stands to lose money because imported aluminum billets cost 27% more. Even if customers agree to higher prices, credit lines strain as inventory turns slower in an uncertain market. Bank of America warns non-investment grade automotive suppliers face a 50 basis point hike in borrowing costs as risk ratings fall. Historically, supplier failures cascade. When a critical Tier 2 sensor maker shut down in 2019, 14 assembly plants paused for 8 days, costing $900 million. The tariff environment mimics those stress signals at a national scale, multiplying fragility throughout the chain, threatening stability everywhere soon. Electric vehicle makers, touted as the future, are uniquely exposed. Battery packs rely on cells, cathodes, and rare earth magnets still sourced overseas despite federal incentives. Rivian warns the tariff will lift its per-truck cost by $3,200, forcing a planned 2-week production pause to re-engineer supplier footprints. Lucid projects an 8 to 15% surge in overall costs and hints at fewer trims for its Air sedan to keep entry prices below $80,000 and preserve tax credit eligibility. Analysts say every $1,000 price hike in the EV segment erodes demand by 6%, jeopardizing Washington's climate targets. Meanwhile, Tesla, which imports power electronics from Shanghai, faces at least $500 million in added duties unless waivers arrive. With EV margins already thinner than mainstream SUVs, tariffs threaten to stall adoption just as charging infrastructure finally gains momentum. Industry voices warn losing volume will delay gigafactory investments and jobs. Global reverberations widen the hit. Canada and the European Union enacted mirror duties on American engines, transmissions, and brake assemblies, immediately snaring $11 billion worth of U.S. exports. Freight brokers report cross-border truck volumes down 12% week over week, the sharpest decline since early pandemic shutdowns. The World Trade Organization estimates worldwide automotive output could contract 3.7% this year if tit-for-tat measures persist, erasing 420,000 jobs across supplier nations. Currency markets have not cushioned the blow. The peso and Canadian dollar both firmed against the US dollar as investors bet on localized manufacturing booms, making US exports pricier still. Meanwhile, Asian suppliers reroute shipments through Vietnam to dodge direct tariffs, adding days and extra paperwork. The resulting logistical maze inflates containerized shipping costs by up to 35%, a surcharge automakers inevitably pass along to customers already stretched thin, with little political relief in sight. Dealerships sit at the front line of fallout, juggling shrinking inventories and anxious buyers. A National Automobile Dealers Association flash survey shows 71% of franchise stores expect gross profits to drop this quarter as import-heavy models like the Toyota RAV4 and BMW X3 become scarce or unaffordable. Some dealers describe modern déjà vu. During the 2019 trade skirmish, they survived on used car arbitrage. This time, rising wholesale auction prices squeeze that fallback too. Floor plan lenders, including Ally and Santander, have tightened credit lines by 5 to 10% to hedge against depreciating collateral values. In rural markets where 60% of sales finance through captive lenders, even a 1-week delay in title processing tied to tariff paperwork threatens cash flow. The resulting uncertainty erodes consumer confidence. Cox Automotive's Shopper Sentiment Index fell 9 points in May, its steepest monthly drop on record so far. Investment analysts fear the tariff could gut long-term innovation, as automakers must fund electrification and autonomy. Industry R&D spending hit a record $141 billion worldwide last year. Consultancy Alex Partners predicts it will decline 12% in 2025 as companies divert cash to tariff compliance, legal analysis, and tooling. Projects most at risk include next-generation solid-state batteries and advanced driver assist software, both dependent on imported semiconductors subject to duty. BMW already postponed construction of a $2 billion assembly plant in South Carolina, citing policy uncertainty. Meanwhile, the Center for Automotive Research calculates that shifting a mid-size crossover program from Mexico to the United States would require $1.3 billion in new facilities, yet still raise build cost by $2,200 per vehicle. Faced with such math, executives may slash product diversity and push price hikes, slowing technological progress right when competitors race ahead unfettered. So, where does the road lead? Unless policymakers rethink strategy, the tariff acts like a slow puncture, bleeding competitiveness mile after mile. The industry's own forecast group, Auto Forecast Solutions, now expects U.S. light vehicle production to fall from 10.4 million units in 2024 to 9.6 million in 2025, erasing gains made since the pandemic recovery. Average retail prices could crest $53,000 by year-end, locking younger buyers out of ownership and pushing mobility toward subscription models. For workers, threatened suppliers and delayed investments mean fewer high-paying manufacturing jobs just as baby boom retirements peak. For consumers, every oil change, brake job, and insurance premium inches upward. If tariffs were a test lap, the pitboard already flashes red. Your wallet and our industrial future ride on decisions unfolding that affect us all deeply.